ranking all 10 weakest Saiyan characters in the Dragon Ball universe from strongest to weakest. Alright, let's get started. Coming in 10th is Goten, a young Super Saiyan who has not received the spotlight yet. Goten's introduction seemed very promising between being one of the youngest Super Saiyans in the franchise. His Goku-like appearance, however, his value as the fire of far has been tied to his best friend Trunks, who is a bit older but also stronger than him. His role in GT also did not help in making him stronger, yet up until Dragon Ball Super. Goten has only made an impact on the battlefield when in his fusion from Gotenks. However, with his natural talents and powerful family, there is still a lot of hope for this character to grow into his strength and rank among the powerful of his race. Alright, moving on. Coming in ninth is King Vegeta, a powerful leader but a weak warrior. As Vegeta's father and king of the Saiyans, King Vegeta does have some strength from the political standpoint. Yeah, he was never powerful enough to fight Frieza. Moreover, he was surpassed by Vegeta pretty early on the franchise, never really showing how powerful he might actually be. Overall, King Vegeta was mostly about continuing his reign rather than actually fighting. Therefore, fans never really figured out what his limitations were as a fighter and as a Super Saiyan. Coming in eighth is Bardock and his team, a low class warrior, a low class Saiyan with the potential to go beyond. Okay, so Bardock might not be the most conflicting fan favorites out there, and he had canonical and non-canonical appearances that depict different versions of the character. However, he is referred to as a low-class Saiyan that, like his son Goku, had the potential to break the limits set on him. Yet he was never really able to show how capable of a fighter he could have been. Although all weaker than him, Bardock's team was filled with second-rate Saiyans like Shagash and Tora, who frequently failed as Saiyans. Unlike Bardock, they never really had the potential to expand beyond their assigned nature in his first place. But it was always suggested that Bardock might be capable of more. He just never gets the chance to show it. Coming in seventh. Sorry, coming in seventh is Paragus. He uses his son's power to compensate of his lack of strength. Alright, so one would expect the father of the strongest Saiyan warriors would hold some degree of power himself, but Paragus's power merely extended to controlling his son. Broly, as a schemer, his strength comes from exploiting his son's power. Never really showed any real physical prowess on his own. Even though the character never really shows his skill as a Saiyan warrior, he is mostly expected to be defenseless without his son to help him out. So there's a little reason to believe Paragus has some extreme hidden strength he hasn't displayed. That could be, but I'm not so sure about that. Coming sixth is Turbo, Vegeta's forgotten and disappointing brother. Although some fans might not even remember him, and Vegeta has a brother who has exiled from being considered too weak. There is not much information to the Saint expect that he is a source of major disappointment. When it comes to his powers and flying ability, however, his powers are actually a bit inconsistent, as he is said to have been two of Frieza's powerful minions, which is no easy feat for any Saiyan. Yet Torble is definitely one of the weakest warriors of his race, and one of the biggest disappointments in Dragon Ball, as he never had any real impact, especially when considering that his brother is one of the most accomplished Saiyans ever. Alright, coming in fifth is Pan, an unrealized potential that could have become reality. There is still time to correct Pan's fate as a Saiyan fighter, since she shows so much potential as a flying baby. The daughter of Gohan and Videl as granddaughter of Goku and Hercule. Just like her father, she has a lot of untapped potential, taking on powerful enemies at a young age and giving her own mother a temporary Saiyan powers. Okay, so however, she's still too young to prove herself. Yet, if Gohan is any indication, the fight never reached her full potential. Despite being portrayed as a fighter in Dragon Ball GT, she seems to lose battles more than anything else. Yet, there is always a chance her fate will be changed, and she will show how powerful her fourth Saiyan side really is. Yeah, that could actually happen, you know. Coming in fourth is Nappa, the saddest Saiyan with the standard powers. Although Nappa looks very intimidating, he is one of the weakest Saiyans when compared to how strong his race can actually become. As one of the of the first few Saiyans to appear in Dragon Ball Z, Nappa is physically strong, being most of the human Z fighters. But once Goku arrives, it becomes clear that he pales in comparison to other warriors of his race. Nappa was easily killed by Vegeta, showing he never stood a chance against the strong Saiyans, even if he, as the saddest personality, made him seem stronger than he actually was. Coming in third is Raditz, a low level Saiyan who serves as an intro to the warrior race. When Raditz first appeared in Dragon Ball Z, he was able to do quite a bit of damage. He was even responsible for one of Goku's deaths. However, more that was revealed about the Saiyans and their powers, the more obvious it became that Raditz was not considered a great warrior within his empowerments. Considered by Goku and Piccolo's power in the beginning of Dragon Ball Z, this Saiyan constantly referred to a lower level warrior, serving only to introduce the powerful race to the anime. With how much Goku and Vegeta and the rest of the Saiyans has evolved since then, Raditz pales in comparison. Yep, okay. Coming second is Guinea, a non-warrior Saiyan reduced to being Goku's mother. While Goku's biological mother might warrant some status in Dragon Ball universe, Guinea is very unlikely her son being portrayed as frail, as gentle, as low-class Saiyan, with no real feats as a fighter is portrayed. Guinea is portrayed more as Goku's mom. It is not clear if that is because she has unrealized potential or just a weak nature. Overall, overall, very little of is known about Guinea in the canon, as she has received very little attention in the franchise so far. Nevertheless, she just seems to not have the physical strength or the power to stand out among the warrior race, even though her genetics have created some of the strongest Saiyans ever. But coming on first, the weakest Saiyan in all of the Dragon Ball universe is Bola, a wasted potential on an almost human Saiyan. Bola is It's hard to consider Bola as a Saiyan, since she very much seems like a typical human and never really displays any aptitude for fighting as Vegeta and Bulma's second child and Trunks' sister. There is no mistake in saying that she has incredible potential to become a powerful Saiyan, yet so far has not done very well as a fighter to show her connection to the Saiyan name, especially considering her Dragon Ball GT her Dragon Ball GT characterization, regardless as a half Saiyan and daughter of two fan favorite characters. She has failed to amaze as a fighter, looking especially when looking at the other young half Saiyans like Goten and Trunks. There's always a chance that Bola can make a difference as a same warrior in the future. Since she is still very young, but as it stands, she still has to prove herself as a warrior. Yup, that does make sense. Well, okay.